The story of the Roanoke colony, known as the Lost Colony, is one of the most enduring mysteries in American history. An entire village of more than 100 settlers vanished without a trace in the late 1500s. But beyond the history books lies a darker version of the tale, one whispered for centuries, that Roanoke was not abandoned, it was consumed. I'm the host. This is the first episode of our second season, all about terrifying legends from American history. Let's get into it. The beginning of Roanoke. In 1587, over 100 English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, off the coast of present-day North Carolina. They were led by John White, who returned to England to secure supplies. 3 years later, he returned to find the colony gone. Houses dismantled, no bodies found, no signs of struggle. The only clue: a single word carved into a wooden post, CROATOAN. Roanoke Island is now part of the Outer Banks, a chain of barrier islands along the southeastern coast. Back then, it was remote, wild, and full of promise. The settlers landed near what they named the CROATOAN, a large inlet on the mainland across a narrow stretch of sand that connects the two pieces of land. It's since been called the Link to Hatteras, though locals know it better as the Roanoke Sound. There's evidence of Native Americans on Roanoke Island dating back thousands of years. And when the colonists arrived, they weren't completely alone. Though the nearest permanent settlement was over 300 miles away, bands of indigenous people traveled through the area seasonally. The native tribes knew as the CROATOAN were some of these people, and the English settlers adopted the name. But for the natives, it wasn't just a place. The land was alive, a spiritual force that watched over them. They called it Ustana, meaning watchful spirit. And they believed Ustana had been here long before them, residing in a physical form, the Great CROATOAN. The Great CROATOAN is the embodiment of the land itself, the spirit of the island. The colonists would have seen these people living according to their ancient customs, hunting, fishing, and gathering. They were tall, lean, and copper-skinned. Their hair was black and coarse and decorated with feathers and beads. They wore simple clothing made from animal hides and carried weapons crafted from stone and wood. Though wary at first, the natives eventually welcomed the colonists, teaching them how to survive on the island. They shared food and fishing spots and warned them of the dangers, including the poisonous snakes and biting ants. But above all, they cautioned against venturing deep into the forest after dark, promising scary things awaited past the tree line. The colonists didn't listen. Less than a year after arriving, the settlement began to fall apart. Governor John White tried to keep order and ration the scant supplies. But almost immediately after his departure, the peace broke down. Food stores dwindled, tempers flared, and the colonists grew desperate. According to later reports, the settlers, starving and demoralized, turned to the natives for help. But the local tribes refused to feed them, claiming the English had broken the laws of the land. That's when they ventured further into the forest to gather food. And that's when they heard the sounds. Some accounts claim the colonists experienced a vision quest, a common practice in some native cultures to seek guidance from the spirit world. During this time, the English settlers saw spirits in the trees, horrifying shapes that lurked at the edge of their campfire light. Others claim the colonists discovered a hidden cave containing artifacts and symbols that seemed ancient. Some settlers even began performing rituals, drawing symbols in the dirt and carving markings into trees. These symbols weren't Christian crosses or English letters. They resembled the strange patterns the natives used in their ceremonies. But the colonists didn't understand the language of the spirits. They were mimicking actions without knowing their meaning. All they hoped was that they could somehow be saved. Then they began disappearing. At first, only a few settlers were missing, so everyone assumed they'd gone to the mainland to find help. But weeks passed and they didn't return. Then more people went missing, men, women, and children. Everyone was scared. No one was safe. On August 18, 1590, John White returned to the island and found it deserted. Every house had been abandoned, every tool left behind, as if everyone had fled. On a tree near the settlement, he found a single carving. The word CROATOAN was scrunched together as if whoever carved it was in a hurry. Did it mean they'd moved to the mainland? Was it a warning? White never learned the truth. He would spend the rest of his life searching for answers, but only finding more questions. Theories and legends. History tends to remember the official narrative. For decades, mainstream historians agreed that the colonists had abandoned Roanoke. There was no evidence of violence, so they assumed the settlers simply decided to leave. Some historians suggested they'd integrated with Native American tribes, others that they'd succumbed to disease or famine. None of the theories were compelling because none of them explained why the colonists left behind their homes, their belongings, their children. But the theory we know today began with the Native Americans. When English settlers arrived, there were dozens of different tribes in the general area, including the CROATOAN. By the time of contact, many had been decimated by European diseases. Within 150 years, the indigenous population would decline by over 90%. Those who survived were forced to flee inland or integrate with other tribes. The CROATOAN likely suffered the same fate. And with them, knowledge of the island's history was lost. Local oral traditions were preserved, though, and when explorers returned to the island, they heard stories of a darkness that had lived there long before the settlers arrived. Something that fed on fear and demanded sacrifice. And whatever it was gone. Most explorers dismissed these stories as superstitious nonsense. After all, what proof did the natives have that something supernatural lived on the island? But some explorers were intrigued. In the 1700s, sailors and explorers avoided the island after nightfall. Some claimed to hear children crying in the forest, though no one was there. Others reported seeing pale figures standing silently among the trees, watching with hollow eyes. But the most disturbing tales described voices whispering CROATOAN in the dark, luring travelers deeper into the woods, none of whom returned. The legend of the lost colony became entangled with the occult. Some claimed the colonists had turned to Satanism as a last resort. Others said the island itself was cursed. Many believed the colony stumbled upon a portal to hell while digging in the dirt. Still others claimed they discovered a nest of witches living in the caves. Each new visitor added another layer to the story until the original purpose of the colony was long forgotten. The haunting accounts: one night, British explorer Edward Custis flew his kite on the beach. When the kite string suddenly tugged, he reeled it in quickly, looking for an explanation. He found a small figure hanging from the end, a crude doll made of straw and cloth. The doll's head was carved from bone, its eyes burned into charred pits. Soon after, rumors spread that the colonists had turned to cannibalism in their desperation, making dolls from the bones of their victims. As the years passed, the story of Roanoke took on a life of its own. It became the basis of local legends and ghost stories. Some said the ground shook at night, like drums echoing across the island. Others claimed they saw the faint glow of torches moving through the trees, accompanied by chanting and drumming. One of the most unsettling accounts came from Edgar Allan Poe, the master of the macabre. As he lay dying in 1849, he reportedly muttered the word CROATOAN over and over again, fueling theories that the curse of Roanoke extended far beyond the island. Modern encounters today, Roanoke Island is a tourist attraction. Visitors can explore the site of the old colony, walk the beach where the settlers landed, and learn about the mysterious disappearance. But as the sun sets, the mood changes. Paranormal investigators say the land is still cursed. Strange lights float through the trees, equipment malfunctions, and EVP recordings capture chilling phrases. "We're still here, he is hungry." Some visitors report sudden nausea, disorientation, and the overwhelming feeling of being watched. As they walk the deserted streets, they feel an unseen presence looming over them, waiting to strike. Others leave with scratches on their skin, 3 long marks as if from claws. Each new encounter adds to the lore, perpetuating the myth that the island is haunted. And the mystery only grows as more secrets are uncovered. We still don't know what happened to the colonists, but some believe they didn't vanish at all. Instead, they became part of the island, claimed by whatever darkness had always lived there. If you visit after sundown, the locals say you might hear it too: children's laughter in the woods, the whisper of your name on the wind, and the tolling of a bell that was never built. Whatever took Roanoke has never left. That was the first episode of our second season, all about terrifying legends from American history. If you liked this episode, make sure to follow for more, and don't forget to subscribe for more.